Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome once more to another episode of Rena by Night. The scene is set slightly bit earlier on in the night, before quite a commotion was made at the Gentlemen's Club, but slightly before the lovely Emma and Miss Brothers depart the club to meet with the prince. But no, before the former, but after the latter. Yes. We begin our scene. And that scene is with a very fancy car pulling up to the church of St. Augustine.
A well-dressed man. He's in his. He's opted for a more business casual, yet still impeccably fancy uh, attire. A nice collared shirt, a nice, you know, dress pants, etc. Hair is completely, everything's in place. He will he will open the door, um, asking his ghoul to just go park, go look at something. He'll, text when he needs her, and he will go up to the church and knock on the door.
When you do, there will be no response. You might start to think that you are here perhaps early, but then a text message will go off. As you look at it, you will recognize the number belonging to the ghoul of the prince. However, unlike the normal message, this one is very frank, almost as though it was written very hastily, either that or by someone who was unfamiliar with the technology. It simply says, "Enter, top floor, second door on the right."
Mario will look at his phone. He it's a bit more in his particular expertise. He doesn't look at it like it's foreign, just as though someone needs a very specific piece of information from it. He will simply put the phone back in his pocket, um, entering the church, making sure to politely shut the door behind him, as he was not born in a barn. And he will head up the stairs, wondering ever so curiously why the ghoul of the prince did not answer, as is his custom. After all, it is his church, he's fairly certain. Or whatever. He doesn't bother with that line of thought too much. He heads up to the proper door and uh, gives a knock.
There is no light on the other side of the door, even as you walk up to it, and as you knock, you will hear the prince's voice from the other side saying, "The door is unlocked."
He will open the door and step inside.
You will step into what appears to be a classroom, one that was used for Sunday school during the day lit hours. There are drawings that are upon the wall. There's desks that are just a little bit too small for someone of your stature, meant for younger children, those learning about the world from the eyes of the church proper. But sitting behind the desk of where the teacher would be, you'll see the prince. He's got his arms folded, looking down at a phone, an older-looking phone, one you don't recognize. You can tell from where his face is right now, he is grimacing. You can also tell that the face, part of his face that you can see, is the one that has the wound to his eye. The wound that has still not healed, even though it has been a few nights, although it is looking a little bit better. The prince will look up to you.
Ah, my prince, I am glad you had the time to meet with me tonight. I hope it did not distract too much from any business you had this night.
You know very well, Mr. Innocenti, that I do not deal with business these nights. That leisure is now for people like yourself and some of the lesser members of the court. These nights I have spent my time hunting down a traitor. That is why you are here. Please, come in. I do apologize that my ghoul is unavailable to have led you up here. I have to make do with what I can under these trying times.
Ah, yes, yes, of course. It is. Well, no, it was just only ever so slightly strange, or that, well, it was simply a different means of being let in. But he will sit when the prince gives him, gives him leave. And he won't kind of uncomfortably squeeze onto one of the chairs. Um, and say, hmm, I've been thinking of my, well, I recently found a pretty little thing. I'm not sure if she is suitable, but I was wondering as to your your views on the right of progeny. Perhaps if she should prove useful, able to be brought into the fold with your leave, of course. I would not want to bring someone who could not handle something like my first trial, oh, so many decades ago. I probably wouldn't want to. Well, I wouldn't wish accidentally draining your beloved wife on anyone. That was a very trying time for me, and I wish to make sure that she, such a subject is emotionally ready for such a thing. But I wish to seek your permission before proceeding any farther in this line of thought, of course.
Hmm. That was a tragedy, and it was so long ago. It was quite a different world back then. Don't you agree? Or perhaps it was just the naivety of youth. Hmm. As he'll look out the window at that point, the phone that is on his desk will go, and at which point he'll look down at it. He'll sort of hold it up and flip it open for it is one of those older phones. He'll press a few buttons, look a bit confused, very unfamiliar. And then he will close it again, put it down, and then give his attention back to you. And he will say, in this time, we cannot afford to have any more mouths to feed. Any naive little ones running around when there are so many predators in our midst. It would be a shame to bring a new childer into these nights under such predicaments. But I will take your request under consideration. Once we are no longer dealing with the threat from within, and if you and this potential childer prove to be loyal and hardworking, then you very well may have my blessing. But until then, and especially after what happened to draw the hunters to us, I am going to have to decline your request. But there is something that you can do to perhaps earn my confidence. Something that would be just your thing, as it were.
Mario will give a smile. Yes, of course, I understand the current situation, and I am optimistic that it will not last forever. After all, troublemakers tend to find their end or leave.
You are the Harpy. It is your job to keep track of who owes boons within the city. Correct?
That is correct.
Good. And should you hear news that someone is an Oathbreaker, what would happen to all of those boons that they had accumulated over the years?
Wow. Breaking your oaths would give the court every reasonable right to consider all boons paid, whether they have been physically paid or not.
Hmm. And how does one tally when a boon has been paid?
Will he will smile. Well, that is part of why they must let me know of these things, keep me apprised. I have a list upstairs in the casino, locked away for when I need to change it.
So what you're saying is that if they don't tell you, you don't know if a boon has been cashed in. For instance, if, say, somebody broke an oath, if they could call in boons before word gets out that they are an oathbreaker, they could cash in any number of boons, can they? Am I correct, Mr. Innocenti?
Hmm. That is that is the reason I must keep my ears to the ground, as it were. Any harpy must. such would serve to help prevent such things from happening.
So, can you find out if any boons were cashed in by somebody who would very much want to cash them in fast?
I do believe that is within my abilities, my prince.
Then do it. Find out if our traitorous ex-seneschal cashed any of his many boons in. Find out who he asked favors for, where they are now, and then inform myself and the sheriff. Do this, and do it expediently, and you will prove yourself not only worthy, but, shall we say, respected, which is always good when one is considering petitioning for childer. After all, your name will be tied to theirs as much as theirs will be to you. Do you understand what I'm saying, Mr. Innocenti?
He will he'll pull a piece of paper out, scrawling something in Italian before putting it back in his pocket. Yes, my prince, I understand perfectly clearly.
It's at that point the phone will again. At which point the prince will look down, pick it up. And close it. I have an additional favor to ask of you. Shall I say, more an actual favor than an order? It seems that we have a guest in town, and having an extra pair of eyes will be necessary. Our enemies are moving.
What sort of guest, my prince?
I don't know. Fascinating, isn't it? Stranger comes in the middle of the night, led by a cleric of my order, brought before the night church. Who knows what tidings they'll bring, whether they'll be friend or foe? Shall we find out together, Mr. Innocenti?
Yes, it is. Certainly sounds like it could be either good or bad, and figuring out which one is of utmost importance, especially in the wake of what has happened the past couple of months.
Well then, shall we make this a proper introduction? And with that, the prince will get up, walk to the classroom door, and open it. He will gesture for the Toreador to rise and follow him.
The Mar-
Oh, what was that? You sort of broke up.
Mario will stand when when the prince gestures, and he will follow an appropriate number of paces behind, in a deferential manner.
Oh, one last thing. You know how to work one of these as he holds the old phone up? I have been spoiled on these touchscreen models. Far more easier to figure out than this hunk of metal.
Yes, I know my way around them. I've had to do it for my business and such.
In that case, he tosses you the old phone. Send a message back to Miss Bellafleur. Tell her the door is open and that we will be meeting her in the night chapel. And then he continues walking down the staircase.
And he'll text Emma, continuing texting possibly a little faster than the prince would, just kind of clicking at the buttons. He's relatively familiar with this technology. It's not the most familiar in the world, but he can send a message.
In that case, outside of the night church, outside of the Church of St. Augustine, in St. Augustine Square, the car of Miss Bellafleur arrives. As the car pulls up,
Go ahead.
the ghoul just sort of looks at. This is where you wanted to go?
Yeah. I'd say while she was waiting in front of the men's club, she would have asked her ghoul of any news about the Seneschal's whereabouts. He had 4 successes trying to trying to track the Seneschal's mobile phone.
Mm-hmm. As he'll sort of frown and say, I found it, but you're not going to like it.
What do you mean?
Well, apparently he trashed it. He must be familiar with using burner phones before. My guess is if he knows how to do that, it'll be a little bit more trickier than just coordinating where he is. But we'll figure something out, boss. We always do.
She'll smile. She goes, thank you. And later on, as they get to St. Augustine's Church, she'll get out of the car. So something I forgot to mention before in the previous scene is she probably attached her bike to the van. And so she gets out of the car and gestures for, and opens the door for the Bruja and gestures for the ghoul to stay in the car.
Chloe will step out of the van.
Alright. It's about that time that a text message will finally ping. The ghoul has finally gotten back to you, and it will say, what, Dan?
It will say exactly what the prince told him to say.
No Toreador flourish, alright. In that case, it just says, the door is open, meet me in the church below.
She'll just look at the message, put her phone back in her pocket, and she'll just walk in the church.
I will follow Emma.
Alright, this is Miss Brother's first time in the church. It looks like it has been newly renovated. Every single piece of it has been finely polished. Paint has been re-added. Old wires have been covered up and replaced with architecture to make it flow seamlessly together. It is though, if at all possible, the building was sucked back in time into an earlier age when it was all pristine. As the neon glow of Reno shines through the stained glass, it casts a rainbow of colors across the pews. But that is not where the prince is, for as Chloe follows Emma, she leads her between the pews and to the left of the main stand where the priest gives their sermon, in front of the grand display, all of the religious iconography. To the left there is a hallway and then a fork with two staircases, one going down and one going up. She goes down. Down to a section of the church that you would think would be actually slightly older than the top, unless you have any dots into knowledge academics.
No.
In that case, you do not pick up anything out of the ordinary. But it is below ground, and it looks like it would lead to some storage areas, except as this La Sombre you're following, or whatever the hell that is.
The shadow thing.
Yes, the shadow thing takes you towards a wall where there's a brick that is slightly out of place. You don't notice it at first, because it is like barely sticking out of the wall, something that is very easy to miss, especially in the slightly dim light area that you are in right now.
It's like a brick on the wall that you know there's loot behind.
Exactly. And what's behind the brick, Miss Bellafleur?
Yeah, she'll move the brick.
Effortlessly. And after pulling the switch, she's able to pull the wall open, revealing a hallway. You can see that the lights of the night church is already on, and you can see that this hallway leads to a section right below the main church. And inside you see almost a reflection of the church you saw above. You see the hallways lined with pews, except instead of stained glass of multicolors, you see stained glass that are just pitch black, with nothing but dirt on the other side. Windows
Chloe
that will
will-
never see the light. What will
Chloe
she do?
will. Chloe will go through the wall, looking at Emma as she's walking through, and she kind of just holds that coat together. I don't know. It's something about it is reminding her of Commander Akbar. It's a trap. Like when she went to the pier and got staked instead of having a lovely chat. And so she's thinking she has the Stitches special, and kind of holds it dear.
Does she look up, or is she just taking in the sights right now?
I'll look up all around.
In that case, you will see that there is a great painting lining the roof of this section. It looks almost like it would be one of those murals, like the grand one that's in the Sixtine Chapel, except in this case it is just black. Like staring up into a sky without stars, just inky blackness. You can make a perception roll with Auspex if you have it.
Hold on. I know I took it because we have to choose the 4 now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So, 3 successes. Not bad, but you did
I've
not
had
get
2.
overwhelming. No, it's the 10 is still a 2, so the 1 cancels out one of the 10s.
Okay.
But you see that it's not just painted black, but it looks like somebody used pointillism on it, if you do know what that is. Somebody took a paintbrush and just a single dot at a time next to each other until the entire ceiling was painted by billions and billions of individual black dots.
Holy crap.
Ah, is Mr. Innocenti making the check as well?
Kinda looks like he might be frozen.
He might be
There we go.
frozen.
Yeah.
I think he's frozen.
Sorry, what?
Dang it. Oh,
Wait, there we
are
go.
you making a check on the hidden thing in the ceiling?
Yeah, because I never made that and I failed it.
Ah, okay then. In that case, it's a little droll, but the architecture of the place is at least fascinating. It looks like they're trying to make some sort of fusion of classic Catholic architecture and the sort of great crypts that are infamous in some of those old European cities. But regardless,
I'll say Emma, as she gets in and watches Chloe look up. She'll look up and she'll look at Chloe and she says, "Do you see it? Can you see what it is representing?"
A lot of freaking dots.
The guys, she'll smile and goes, "Yes, but if you look at it closely, it actually is an eye watching
What?
straight at us."
She's really looking.
fortunately for the life of you, you just can't see it. But you do
That's
see
okay.
that down the center of the pews to where the preacher's stand would be, instead is a great throne. And there is a man sitting on it, a man in priestly attire. It appears to have a wound on his left eye, and standing beside him, sort of with his hands at attention, is another man. A finely dressed man. Somebody you would probably expect to see more at a dinner party than in this shadowy church. Does Emma say anything as she approaches?
No, she'll just smile back and she'll move towards the prince and Mr. Innocenti. And she'll smile at them. She goes, "My prince, Mr. Innocenti," and she'll bow, having a super gracious bow using her dexterity 4, celerity 3, and 3 in in ethics, in etiquette. And she'll do her bow, and she'll say, "I have come with a new addition to the city."
The man on the throne looks at you.
She will,
Even though one of his eyes are wounded, the other one is clear. You've seen that look before, when the last prince of your former city would look over you, sizing you up, judging you.
she'll
What does she
just,
do?
she just smiles, gives a bow, but of course it's not going to be as graceful as Miss Emma's, and says, "You must be Prince Alvarez. I am Chloe Brothers."
Another brothers. I thought that we had seen the last of you, or at least that is what Miss LaRouge had made me believe. It has been quite some time since I had spoken to her.
I was told by my sister back in Boston that Miss LaRouge was watching over the place. However, when I went to my establishment, there was no LaRouge to be found.
As he'll turn to the man standing beside the throne, he will say, "Do check and see if Miss LaRouge is still in town." In that case, with a 3 to aura perception, you should be able to see both of the auras of everyone in the room, then, in that case.
He's focusing on Chloe.
In that case, could you describe, well, of course, she's kindred, but what is
She's
her
not a
mood right now?
Diablerist, is she? No, probably not.
I don't believe so.
But yeah, okay. That's the physical the dominant physical and emotional states.
She is a very dex-heavy kindred. She is a Bruja. Um, and right now she's just being honest. She knows how to act to a prince, being a harpy from New Sarum.
And he will just he will nod. He won't give any indication that he's been reading her aura, but he will just nod. Say, yes, I will. He pulls out the piece of paper, scrawls something else in Italian under the first note that he wrote in Italian. At this point, at this angle, the prince can see he's writing in Italian, not English.
Prince will smile at that, but then his attention will go back to Chloe. Tell me, why are you here?
I was originally from New Sarum, under Prince Sanshope's eye. And before the fall, I had left the city.
How
And
convenient of you.
I was hiding in a hole for about 5 years before my sister found me. By the way, you guys can roll perception empathy if you guys want.
Oh boy, will he. Woo!
I don't
Four
see your
successes.
dice. Oh, crap.
Four
Okay.
successes.
2, 4, 5, 6, 7 successes.
There is definitely more to that story.
The prince will try to hide his emotions.
Can I roll perception empathy to
Yes,
that?
you may.
6 dice. 3 successes.
I have 5.
I know. No. Neither to one of you guys.
In that case, he is impassive. But again, you've seen that exact look before on Stanhope. He's hiding his own emotions. He will just look at you with that one eye, a gaze like fire.
I had left town unexpectedly. I had seemed to slip.
So what you're telling me is that you left town right before the cataclysm befell it. Because you did not have enough self-control to... what?
Because I had found out my father, who tried murdering me and my sister and murdered my mother, had gotten out of prison with no bail or anything. No... I'm trying to remember the word out of character. No parole. And I went out and found him and killed him.
And left your city to its fate, not once going back.
I couldn't really think straight enough to go back.
So, you have told me your story, but you haven't told me why are you in my city.
To check in on my establishment that I have here.
The last time I checked, that belonged to a Pyrrha brothers, not a Chloe brothers.
She runs the business, but my name is on the ownership papers.
Then that means that business is yours by the grace of your sister. You have done nothing to keep it, to earn it. You are simply coming in because she is not here.
Simply.
And claiming ownership of it. Tell me, why on earth should I let you in this city?
Well, why on earth would you not?
Because you've just and very plainly stated that you are a kindred with very little self-control who's prone to losing her head and leaving town. How can I rely on someone like that when my city is threatened?
How is your city threatened?
Oh, don't be smart with me, girl.
I'm just asking.
All Camarilla cities are threatened. There are always enemies in the darkness.
And what threatens your city this night?
Take your pick. Enemies within, enemies without. Rivals fighting amongst themselves for the scraps of their elders. Traitors breaking their word and stealing what is by rights the prince and the princedoms. Stranger things, otherworldly things that are called up by kindred like yourself who lose their head and do something foolish.
The only foolish... I'm just speaking plainly, sir. But the only foolish thing I ever did was leaving that city that one time. And my motivation for leaving that city is now ashes to the wind. Probably now, 5 years later. Yeah. I
do
have my
not
mind.
care about your reasons. I care about what you can do for this city.
I was one of the harpies for New Serum. And I was
Really?
starting to teach the harpies so they weren't the lowest hanging fruit to be picked at by the Tremere, by the Giovanni, by any forces attacking the city.
Hmm. Do you have anyone to vouch for you?
I would, but dear Emma mesmerized him in the car, so he is now passed out in the office of my sister's establishment, so he can rest, and so that he would not embarrass you or himself by trying to present himself to you.
The prince will then look a bit confused. He, for a moment there, thought you were referring to another Toreador that has been causing him headaches as of late. But instead he will say to Emma, "And who is this individual who would vouch for her?"
She'll say his name was he introduced himself as Malcolm, but and she'll look at Chloe and she'll say maybe his name is Mortimer or Clovey or whatever his real name is.
I am unfamiliar with any kindred in the city who go by the name Malcolm or Morty.
His original name is Mortimer C. Fitzgerald, but his writing name is Malcolm Cloverfield II.
Hmm. There is no kindred in the city named Malcolm or Mortimer or anyone by that. I have familiarized myself with who is in my kingdom. You have no legs to stand on. You do not even have your sister or Miss LaRouge to give you backing.
Stanhope.
What?
And Calliope Tavalaris Um. Oh crap. Who? Oh god. Did he say Stitch was in the city? I think he said Stitch was in the city. I'd have to double check.
So you are going to claim that your fellow refugees would vouch for you when you left them all to die.
They don't have to vouch for me. You can make that judgment after they tell you about me.
I have heard enough. You have given me no reason why you can stay in the city, so I'm going to give you an option. You can stay, but if you do, it is by my grace. And that means it will be by my blood. Or you can get the hell out of my city. What is it worth to you? I will not have a flight risk living in my city, feeding off our herds, who has no legs to stand on. What'll it be?
It
Miss
would be a
Brothers?
great honor for you to allow me in this city.
Very well. At that point, the prince will get up, and he'll say, "Wait right here." And then he will head to the left, where in the almost mirrored church above, the hallway would lead to the stairs going up or down, but instead he enters a room out of sight. And after a few minutes of shuffling and some things being moved, actually rather unprincely if you think about it, he will emerge with a very ornate-looking chalice. He will give it to Mr. Innocenti and say, "Hold this for a minute, will you?" And with that, he will pull out a knife and cut his wrist.
I'm
No
gonna
blood
say
will
this
emerge.
right now at a game. You kind of see her stiffen up, just the slightest. I'm not gonna try to roll trying to hide that.
He just holds the cut, and with it he forces the vitae to flow from the wound and into the chalice. Your choice, Miss Brothers, as he licks the wound. You will work for me now, and earn your place in the city. You will earn your legs to stand on by good deeds, or you are not welcome in my princedom.
She'll reach for the cup.
Alright? Will she drink it?
She hesitates a little bit because she's remembering, being staked and being taken captive and the whole spiel about what was going on with that. And she says it could be worse. And then drinks it.
Alright, immediately you will feel the effects of the blood bond begin to take effect, and that the prince will sort of relax ever so slightly, and he will smile. He'll say, "You do show courage. That is good. Not many would come here and actually accept bondage. That will be remembered. You are welcome in this city as one of the laity. You may stay here for as long as you are bound to me. However, you will need to make arrangements on your own, find a haven to stay at with one of the established members of this princedom, or you may stay at one of the newly refurbished apartments that are a part of my domain. It is for such instances like this."
I know that my sister has a house. Would I be able to stay there?
As long as you can get a letter from her to me, I will allow it.
Okay.
Very well. Your first task will be to report to our sheriff, Carl Voltaire.
And she just kind of goes, oh god.
You're familiar with that. Good.
Yes, I
You
am.
will be recognizing a lot of people here in Reno. You are going to help him with the little blood hunt we have going on.
Okay.
Prove yourself, and you may yet earn a place in the city without serfdom. You might even earn a place as one of the members of the Crucible Orders, but there will be enough time to familiarize yourself with that later. Let's just say that Reno is in the process of being reborn into a better princedom, a stronger princedom, one where every single member, from those of the court to those of the populace, will truly have earned their place to carve out a paradise for themselves amidst this city of sin.
She'll nod.
As for this Toreador, this whatever the hell his name is, he will come before me by the next night. And
I will
he
make sure
will
he
be
does.
given the same options. Let us hope that he has as much courage as you do. Now go. It is late, and I have a hunt to arrange.
Hey Ben, did you get the message?
Let me see real fast. Oh, my eye. Oh. That is correct. At that point,
Buzz.
out
Buzz.
of the darkness, a phone will start buzzing ever so slightly, and when Miss Brothers picks it up, it will just simply say, "Shots fired! Shots fired! Ah!" All in
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
what?
Remember how I dropped my friend off, the Toreador off at my sister's strip club?
He begins to tense again as he looks at you again. Eyes like fire. Or should we say, eye like fire.
I'm gonna say this now. It's probably not his fault, but shots have been fired.
What?
Don't kill the messenger.
As he'll turn to the harpy. Find out what's going on now.
I can get there within 5 minutes.
Go solve it and bring him to me. I want to know what is going on now.
You got it. And she just goes.
As he looks at both Emma, Bellafleur, and Mr. Innocenti, says, "Well, don't just stand there. Move!"
Actually,
Mario will move.
I was just gonna say Emma was about to ask the prince if she wanted help, but if she said that, she'll just go super quick, go
She's
up.
already gone.
As
And
they go zipping out of the night church. Although, does Mr. Innocenti want to say anything else?
Mario will be following behind, trying to figure out, okay, what is it, he's taking stock of, okay, do I need to squash a story again? Great. And he will tell his ghoul that, well, we've got work to do. Come on, let's go. And they will drive off.
As they all leave, the prince will put his head in his hands and just shake his head, going, Lord, save me from new ceramides. And with that, our scene will end. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful evening.